What's your name?
My name's Greg.
Greg. Nice to meet you, Greg.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Jay Michael. Hey, I'm an Ohio boy too, so we got that
Oh,
little
that's what's
connection
up.
going on. I'm more
What part?
towards Cleveland, but you're Toledo, right?
Okay, yeah. But
All
we're
right,
gonna,
very,
we're gonna be in Cleveland the 11th.
that's right. Same day your
Yeah.
album drops.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for taking some time with me today. I wanted to congratulate you on your new album, Whiskey and Roses. And the first two singles, I Swear and Searching for Heaven, are fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that for real.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the videos too, they kind of tell that story. Is there going to be a third video as well?
I'm believing there's gonna be a third video. I'm just waiting to see what Patrick Tohill and Wolf come up with. We have a third video that's coming out the day of the album release, which is July 11th, but and it's called Amnesia, but it's a separate video from those two. Those two fell in line, and uh, from what I'm seeing, the fans are actually calling for a third video. So I believe there will be one on the way at some point.
All right, very good. So how did your collaboration with Yelawolf come about, and what drew you to his style?
Um, so I spent over half my life in prison, and then out of prison since the time I was 15. Um, drug trafficking. I just did 8.5 years for drug trafficking was my last charge, and pretty much, I grew up in low income housing and stuff like that with my mom and my sister. So my life kind of correlated with his lifestyle. And when I was in prison for my last bid for my last 8.5 years, um, when he came out with Pop the Trunk, I was on the yard working out, and we had like a speaker that was connected to one of my dudes play MP3 players, and he was playing it, and I was like, man, who was that? And he was like, that's this new dude out of Alabama named Yelawolf, and I was like, man, he's dope. And then I remember like a month later seeing him on a show that was on the television music station that was showing him like singing Pop the Trunk, and he was like crowd surfing and stuff, and he was all like punk rock, and he was just a mixture of everything, like punk rock, country, and hip hop, like gangster rap. Like he was just a mixture, and his crowd was all diverse. It was everybody. It wasn't like just one solid race of people, and I loved it, and I felt like, I mean, that reflected who I was as a person and how I grew up. So, never in a million years would I thought that I'd be signed to him, uh, to Slumeric and his label, or have a joint album collaboration coming out with him. So, how it even came about was I ended up dropping Urban Cowboy, which was my debut solo album, and a month I tagged Edward Crow, who is a Yelawolf and my manager, um, in the this video I made called Diamond Ring, and it was in a jewelry store, and the whole song's talking about how I might never have the money for a diamond ring, but baby, I'll give you my life. And I'm wearing all these diamonds and jewels, and in the jewelry store saying I might never have the bread to buy you a diamond ring. So it's kind of like, it wasn't, it wasn't supposed to be there. It was a dichotomy. You know what I mean? It
Right.
was definitely not supposed to. So it made it cool. But I tagged Edward Crow in, and then I was like, man, maybe I shouldn't have tagged him because I was like, I don't know him. He don't know me. That's kind of corny. But I was just like, man, if I could get in that circle of guys, because I knew what Yelawolf had did for Jelly Roll and Struggle Jennings, and um, some of the other greats that I had looked up to, and literally I would have deleted it, but I tagged him in the post, and I'm not really all crazy savvy on social media, so it was like I had to delete the post and do it all over again. And I was like, I'm not doing it all over again, so I just left it. And 4 days later, I had a notification that I had some fire emojis and stuff on it, and it was from Edward Crow, and I was like, wow. And then he had messaged and was like, what are you trying to do? And long story short, I ended up signing with Edward Crow, and then Edward Crow ends up introducing me to Yelawolf, and me and Yelawolf hit it off, and Wolf didn't even know I made music at the time. And so we had, you know, Edward Crow, we call him Zilla. but he was like, I want Yelawolf to meet you because I feel like you guys are, kindred spirits. You know what I mean? You guys are the same type of people, and I don't want it to be on a music thing. Like, build an organic friendship. Let him get to know you as a human being first, and then we'll let him know that you make music, and that is where the magic will happen. And I was like, all right, I trust you. You know what I mean? And throughout my whole life, I've always been like, I make music, I make music. That's the first thing. One of the first things I do is put my music out there.
Sure.
I just kept it to myself, man, and I just played my position and got to know Wolf, and we became really close. And I was down in Florida, and I got a phone call, and Edward Crow was like, "Hey, he knows you make music, and he loves it, and he's in the studio right now working on some music for you." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's like that." And I was like, "Man, okay." So he was like, "Be ready. When can you come down here?" And Wolf literally was in the studio for like 11 days working on records that he thought that I could, because he's such a genius at the way that he looks at music. And I know I'm giving you a lot, but I'm just trying to
That's all
fill
right.
you in on where, like, how it happened, because I haven't really explained all that to anybody. But he's such a genius the way he looks at music. Like, he'll see what's missing or where I can fit in,
Hmm.
because he's like, man, this is for country. Well, where do country people go when they want this feel? They go outside of country. Let's give them something that you can bring to the table that they won't have to leave the genre or the area for, to go outside to get that feeling. And I thought it was a dope way to think about it. And so he had all these hooks and stuff ready for me. And um, so I I came as soon as I could. I came like 2 days later, and I jumped in the studio with him. And um, so he was like, "Man, sing, this is how this hook is gonna go." And I'm like, I would do it in my head, and I would be like, "Man, I just don't sound the same. It doesn't sound the same for me to sing it as it does him. He
Hmm.
sounds so much better doing it." So I was like, "Man, all right, why don't you do this?" And I'll just do you know what I mean? I'll put these verses together. So he's like, and it happened for a couple times, and then literally, like, by the fourth way through, we had been in the studio for a few days, and I was like, "Man, hey, why don't we just do a project together, man? Why don't we just do a joint project? Just, you know what I mean? I'll do the hooks, and you do some verses, or however you want to do it, man. I just love the way our sound is." And he just looked at me with a little smirk for a second and thought about it. And he was like, "Are you serious? You want to do that?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I want to do that." And he was like, "All right, let's do it." So that's how the original, like, seed was planted. It wasn't planned, but it happened the way that it was supposed to. And then those records didn't even make, only two of those records out of that session made the album.
Wow.
One of them was Big Trucks, and the other one was Honey Hole. And they're so that when it comes to the album, like, as far as Yellow Wolf goes, and I'm the same way. You never know how I'm going to attack something.
Mm.
And but whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make sure I do it the way that it's called for. It's gonna be good, and it's not gonna, it's always gonna be something to look forward to. You're not gonna, there's some people that make music, and you know exactly how they're gonna come every time. And even if
Right.
it does sound good, it's kind of like you just know how they're gonna come. Like a Drake or a Rick Ross or somebody like that. They have a signature style.
Mm.
And for me and for Yellow Wolf as well, like, you never really know how we're gonna come, and that's how the album is for real. The album is just a mixture of different feels. It's some country, it's some gangster rap, it's some rock and roll. It's a little bit of everything, but whatever you're gonna get, it's all dope.
Right. Awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing the whole thing. So, that was my question. Do you collaborate on every track together, or do you have some solo stuff and he has some solo stuff, or is it all collaborative?
Yeah, so there's like two songs. Well, it's not always the back and forth. It's not always he takes one verse and I took one verse, or I do the hook or he does it's there's one song where, we both had input on every single song. There's not like one song that we just took ourselves and was like, but um for the last record on the album, which was produced um by Tasty Beats, produced most of the album. And Tasty did the Black Sheep album and a lot of Caskey stuff, and he's done stuff for the game and a lot of people. Tasty's one of my main go-tos. Him and Mike Harnett. Um, and the last record on the album is called excuse me for a second, I'm trying to All I Ever Seen.
Hmm.
And it was me and D Ray wrote it together, the actual lyrics of it together. And D Ray is the one that wrote with Jelly Roll for Save Me, Son of a Sinner. Like D Ray's massive. He's an insane writer, and it was really fun to get to know him. But Wolf had brought him in to finish the last song. And I kept being like, we got the first two verses written together, me and D Ray, and I was like, Wolf, man, I just kept getting at him like, bro, come on, I need you on this song, bro. I need you to, lay it. And he just kept being like, the two times he was like, man, I, I really think I want the world to see what J. Michael Phillips can do, carry his own on a record. And he's like, I think you should take that out, and then it'll lead you into your solo project. And I was like, man, that's crazy. Like in my heart, I wanted it to be me and him on everything, but then the last verse of it, I ended up recording while we were in Oregon while we were on the 45 tour, and me and Wolf went into the studio, and I wrote the third verse and recorded it. Well, I wrote it with him and recorded it. And it turned out amazing. We had a guy named Flip, one of our homies for from Nashville, who is a session, the baddest drummer I know. And he went in and killed the drums over it and stuff, and it ended up being a really great record. And the other record, Amnesia, the third single that's coming out, Wolf pretty much carries that. I mean, I do some backup vocals and stuff, and I
Mhm.
do a little bit of vocals in there, just like he does a little bit of background stuff on the last song that I was just talking about. But he carries the weight of it, and I carry the weight on the last one. So we got two songs on the album out of 10 records. Um, that we have like we lead in, but every other song after that, the other eight songs are all back and forth
Hmm.
for real.
Very cool. Oh, that's awesome, man. And he's kind of like letting you do your own thing. I like it that it's the last song. I'm like, okay, you're ready to go off on your own then, man. That's pretty cool. It's nice that he did that.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. I've never met anybody like him. Like who is so unselfish, and he just wants me to win. He just
Mhm.
wants to see me to win, and he's one of them guys that believe you're only as strong as your weakest link. And it's like he wants every link in this chain to be strong, even if it means that he sits back and directs or whatever, what I mean, plays the silent role in a situation. He wants to and even by taking me on tour and opening me up to his fan base, which is such a like that fan base is serious. Like
Mhm.
they're true followers of Yelawolf. Like they believe in him and come from that same struggle and understand that. And that's my first show on the tour, or first time like performing with Wolf. I was kind of, I wasn't afraid, but I was a little questioning of how are they going to accept me,
Hmm.
because my music is different. You know what
Right.
I mean? It's not the same that Slumerican puts out usually, but it is Slumerican. My life is Slumerican. Everything about me is Slumerican. Coming from nothing and overcoming all obstacles, and still believing and striving to be better no matter what nobody says, and that's as American as it gets. And he's really just really blessed me, and he tries to bless all his friends, everybody around him. It's just, it's one of them things that you don't meet people like him who are genuine and selfless at
Hmm.
times and share what's theirs, even if it means he's not getting anything back from it other than, the joy of seeing one of his people succeed. And that's how he truly is, and that's crazy to me.
That's good. It sounds like a good dude, man. That's awesome. It's good to have someone like that on your side for sure. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So looking back, who were some of your earlier musical influences, and how do they kind of show up in your work today?
Okay. So I grew up with my mother mainly. My mother and father are back together, but from the time I was 2 years old till the time I was 21.
Hmm.
They weren't, they were separated. So I grew up with my mom, and she played folk music and used to listen to a lot of Phil Collins, Oak Ridge Boys, Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, Bob Seger, uh, just a real crazy mixture of music. The '80s.
Hmm.
I grew up in the '80s, so it was like a lot of different influences. Duran Duran, George Michael, like
Mhm.
stuff that um, really you can see it in the music that I write. But then whenever I'd be around my dad, he used to listen to Hank Williams Jr. and the Funkadelics and yeah, just create like Prince and Michael Jackson and on both sides. Michael Jackson was a huge you know inspiration and influence, and the Beatles and Paul McCartney and just like everything in that time period that when music was music to me. When you ask me, like, I love that era of music. And I, I feel like it really did influence me in my songwriting. But my mom wrote poetry, my grandmother wrote poetry, um, and seriously wrote it. And it was like, so I was writing poetry since a kid, or had the ability of understanding rhyme schemes and then song structures too from my mother. So it was always, I was always a few steps ahead of everybody else around me when it comes to writing music and understanding the structure of a song.
Nice.
And that's helped me out a lot in my life with music.
Sure, absolutely. Now, I know you said you spent a lot of time in prison, but do you remember the first concert you went to, the first live performance that you saw?
Um, the, the first live performance I seen was um man, I was in junior high. It was in Toledo, Ohio. It was the Players Platinum concert, and it was Too Short, Bone Thugs and Harmony,
Nice.
uh, E40, and Scarface.
Wow.
And Scarface to me was um, from the Ghetto Boys.
Right.
Scarface to me, like, he was captivating. And it's crazy because I ended up being signed to a label when I was younger in Houston, because I used to rap too. Um, and I got signed to a label in Houston. And Scarface's DJ was a part owner of that. And I've met, Face and was around Face a few times. And it was kind of like just, uh, I don't know, it was something that just inspired me to be
Hmm.
greater, greater, and greater, and to know that it was possible to actually succeed if I continued to move in the right direction. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Was that at what is that venue up in Toledo? Huntington Bank Center or something like that?
Oh, the Huntington Center
Huntington Center.
it was, I forget what it was, the Seagate Center.
Okay.
It was when the Seagate, it was right across from the Huntington. It was called the Seagate Center. It's called something else now. I don't even remember what the name of it is now, but it was
Yeah.
at the Seagate.
That's cool. Yeah. All right. Very good. Um, so where do you see the music industry heading, especially now with artists like you and Yelawolf who kind of mix genres and combine genres? Do you think that's something that's going to continue, or where do you
Oh
think we're
yeah.
headed?
I think yeah, absolutely, because your influence of music comes from what you grow up on, the people that raised you, of course. And then um you grow into yourself, and you find other things. And I think that the era of people being stuck with only listening to one genre is pretty much over with. I think it's evolving, because if you look at these kids playlists and stuff,
Mm.
you'll find everything from Hank Williams Jr. all the way up to Lady Gaga and Jelly Roll, and I mean, there's just so many different things. And then Black Sabbath and AC/DC. There's so many different things that and these kids are on the games and stuff like that, and there's different songs that are being introduced to them, or the 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 internet has changed a lot of things, being online and being able to have access to all these different cultures and all these different genres. It's creating a melting pot, and people just like good music. They want something they can relate to. And I feel like that's what's really happening on this tour, on this 45 tour we're on. We got JT Lux, which is, these guys are a rock band. You know, we got me. I'm urban country. I'm a mixture of country and hip hop sound. And then you got Wolf, who is he's everything. He's all of that. You know what I mean? He's gangster rap, he's country, he's rock. So, and it's crazy. He keeps being like, man, I've never been on a tour like this. Like the energy is great. Everybody gets along, everybody's brothers. It's all love. But it's not only that, it's the fans accepting the music and the way that the music affects the crowd and creates this buildup that by the time he's on stage, man, they're turned up and ready to go. And it's always an experience. Every night is a different experience. And it's crazy to be able to be a part of that. And me being new to this, JT Lux being new to this, we could be like, oh, this is crazy. This is this is how it happened. This is how it
Right.
is. But Wolf having done it over 15 years, you know what I mean, and been doing this and saying, no, this is something special. We're selling out shows everywhere we go, word of mouth. People are coming from multiple shows. Like people are saying we can't just come once. Like online, you can read the comments about the shows and stuff. They're like, man, I'm making this show, and like people are traveling for it. And so when you know that there in times where money is hard, and people are struggling, and we don't have like these people at our venues didn't grow up with silver spoons. These are people that come from the bottom like us, man. They relate to coming from the bottom, and they work hard for their money, and they spend it on things that they need. And that's saying a lot when they're spending it on your shows, because it says they need to feed something that's in themselves, and they're finding it, on the 45 tour, and that's amazing.
That's awesome, man. That's very good. Yeah, I saw all over the place, sold out, sold out, sold out. So yeah, you guys are definitely doing your thing for sure. Um, Interesting question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I see myself at the top. I
Mhm.
see myself absolutely at the top of the food chain, and that's not to discredit anybody, because I'm not better than anybody. What I do is just different, and I'm the type of person who, I'm the hardest critic of myself. I'm gonna be harder on myself than anybody's gonna be. So I demand the greatest results. I want to try to make everything that I do the best, and I'm one of the best um, at what I do. Like I am a master of my craft. I've been doing this long enough, and it's in me. I mean, I just keep it. I keep it real. I put my life in the music, and I feel like we all live the same life. We just live it a little bit differently. So as long as I put my life in my music, someone's gonna find something that relates to theirs, and that's really what's happening right now. And it's only a matter of like getting in front of the people. It's something that everybody's like, man, why haven't I heard of this? Why isn't this on the radio? Da da da. And I'm like, it's I relate it to, like, I've grown up since I was like 13 selling drugs, man, and I'm not proud of that, but it's just the reality of so many people that come from nothing and don't really see another way of making money, and that's the easiest way. And it's not even easy. It's very hard on you and your families when all the consequences come. But the only way that I had seen making money was through the streets, and it's kind of like I assimilate my music to having like the greatest product of whatever illegal drug, and besides fentanyl. We don't do that fentanyl, heroin, any of that stuff that's killing somebody. But um, whatever it might be, having the best product and not knowing anybody in the area, you're just gonna have the best product, and you're gonna sit on it, and no one's ever gonna know. You know what I mean? But it's like the music. If I have the greatest music and I can't get it to the people, or have a platform that really reach the masses, I'm just gonna be the greatest guy that made music that nobody ever knew. And there's a lot of people like that. My success is coming from my preparation and my opportunity. I've been preparing my whole life. Yelawolf and Edward Crow are my opportunity, and they've allowed for success to happen. So I don't see anything. I didn't come here to be number two. I came to be number one at what I do, and that's what 5 years from now, that's where I'll be.
There you go. Very good. All right, man. So, like you said, you're going to be hitting Cleveland on July 11th.
Yeah.
A sold out show already. What can fans expect from the show? People that are going to be coming.
Fans can expect great energy, nothing but high frequency, positive vibes, an experience that for the whole family that you can bring your kids. There's gonna be a little foul language here and there, but there's other than that, it's nothing but love, good vibes, positive um, messages. You're going to see camaraderie. You're going to see a band of brothers up there performing with the family because American is a family. It's not just, we're not just standing in front of you performing. We're with you. It's interaction. It's everything that's been missing in music, I believe. And it's a good time.
All right, man. Very good. Well, hey, I'm looking forward to the show, and I'm going to tell everybody about it. Again, it's already sold out, so we can't even get a ticket. You guys have already done the good job. But again, I'm just letting everybody know. Again, they can get them on the secondary market, I guess. So
But you're going to be there?
I'm going to be there. Yeah, I think I'll be shooting the show too. So I'll be down in the pit taking some
Man, make
pictures.
sure you say what's up, man. Don't
I,
be a stranger.
I will, man. All right, Jay Michael. Hey, you take care. Safe travels on the road, and I wish you best with this new album coming out on the 11th.
Thank you, brother. I look forward to seeing you, man.
All right, you too, brother. Hey, take care.
Yep, you too, love.
All right, we'll see you. Yeah.
Peace.